Hi everyone, I'm
Well,
Linda
hi,
Ciano,
and I'm Neil Williams.
and we are here for those of you who missed our presentation, or for those of you who saw it and thought we were so awesome and wanted to come back and
Yeah.
see it again. We are presenting Auburn Dogs and Turquoise Toys,
Color vowels is a key to pronunciation.
and we're going to jump right in with.
This is what it's all about. Um, the first line, that people said is, well, what exactly is this? You've seen us all wandering around with this very large piece of plywood under our arms, and people have been asking us, well, what is it? Well, here it is. And Linda will tell you more about how we actually found it.
So there was an article in a TESOL publication last fall of 2014, about the color vowel chart. And since Neil and I were teaching intro level, I thought that it might be something interesting to use with our students. So I checked it out, and Neil, great guy that he is, decided he was game to use the color vowel chart with me. So the color vowel chart is located online at www.colorvowelchart.org.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that we'll be doing today, you can actually find up on this site, and it's wonderful because they keep updating it all the time. It's really fabulous for that.
And we will talk a little bit later about resources.
Yeah. So I've been using it with Intro and Level 2, and
I've been using it with intro and level 4, but it really can be used at all levels. That's one of the nice things about it, and it's incredibly adaptable. So for every level, you actually have different things that you can do with it, use it for different purposes, but the students all get what they need out of it.
so for those of you who are, shall we say, over 40, this might remind you of Caleb Gattegno's Silent Way. Um, for those of you who don't know what the Silent Way is, Silent Way was originally started as a way of teaching math, and Gattegno's line was essentially that he would subordinate teaching to learning. And the idea was that you would have students produce the sounds rather than the teacher model the sound for them. What we're showing you here now is one of his fidels. They were called fidels. And as you can see, it's fairly complicated. Most of these colors stand for one sound. If you think this is bad, you should look at the fidels where the words actually appear, which Linda's about to pull up.
I'm getting there. Hold your horses. Here we are.
Are you sure?
Wait. There we should be. Here
That's
we
the
are.
one, yes. Now this is, in fact, there are only 4 of here. There are about 50 of these, I think, originally. And if you're in a Silent Way classroom, these will be all the way around the classroom. If you look, you'll see that each word has different colors and these are the ways to pronounce things. It's incredibly complicated, and with very few exceptions, it's not really being used much these days, though there are people who still stand by it. However, this chart that we found, we think, is a very good way of subordinating teaching to learning, but in a way that is a lot more user-friendly, if you like. Now, this card is, you'll notice, well, just take a little while to look at this, and what do you notice about it? Pause your machine for a second and just make some notes on the things that you notice. How is this different from the classic, and I'm writing air quotes here, the classic trapezium, phonetic trapezium that we all learned in grad school?
How is it different from the classic trapezium that we all learned in grad school, Neil?
Well, the first thing you'll notice is that it's got words, and there are colors and words together. So if you look in the top left-hand corner, for example, here, you've got green tea, which is on a green background. You've also got silver pin, which is on a silver background. So that's the first thing about it. The second thing is that it's got the shape of a trapezium, kind of, but very kind of. But it's also got some sounds in it which are not, where we would put in the classic trapezium. If you notice, for example, we have this word here, grey day. We have brown cow, rose coat. And those are white tie and turquoise toy of the title. And those were originally known, when I was training certainly, as diphthongs. And a diphthong, in fact, is a glide between two sounds. One of the great things about this chart is that it presents pretty much all the vowels that we use in English, all 15 of them, in a very compact but also very usable interface.
Now, I'm going to jump in and say Auburn dog. We have to spend a moment talking about Auburn dog because Auburn dog is an East Coast sound. For those of you who come from California and places other than East Coast cities, you might say something along the lines of, I'm going to try my best here, orange door, which is not a New York City sound. We say orange door.
Yeah, but we also say Auburn dog.
And we say Auburn dog. And I know some teachers here do not say Auburn dog, but this is an area thing. And actually, when you look on the website for the color vowel chart, they have two versions of the chart. And in the West Coast version, which is what they call it, the West Coast version, instead of Auburn dog, they have orange door, trying my best, orange door there instead. But we've been using the Auburn dog chart because that is the local pronunciation.
Now, the other thing you may or may not have noticed is at the top of this chart, there are three very, very important sounds. There's the y, there's the r, and there's the w. Now, these, again, in most trapezia, whatever the word is, they don't actually occur in those positions at all. And it's because they have to do with rounding. The y is essentially what we call the smile. The w is what Neil calls.
Oh, the kiss sound. That's right.
And the r, which is right in the middle, actually is the open position, which is neither y nor w. And most of the vowels, in fact, will, especially if you notice the diphthongs, are going to end in either a y or a w. And that's why when you take something like silver pin, if you put a y on the end of it, which is just moving your tongue up towards the y, you go from si to c, and gree, and then you've got green tea.
And I'm going to jump in and stop you for 1 second because we just did a lot of gesturing a second ago with the smile and the kiss and the open. And that's what we did in our workshop where everyone could see us. But since this is not actually a video but a screencast, let's explain what smile, kiss, and open are.
Okay.
So a smile sound, everything from green tea all the way down to black cat, has to be made with your lips pulled back. And you can really feel it in green tea. But it happens all the way down the list, even to black cat, where your mouth is wide open. Your lips are still pulling back to make that sound.
And with blue moon, which is exactly the opposite, you've got, in fact, your lips are fully rounded. So you've got an u going to the w, and it's actually the glide w on the end. U. And rose, which we're going to come back to in a minute, because I have a different variation from Linda in this one. For me, it starts as an O, but I think in American it starts as an O. It starts slightly differently, but either way, it ends in the W, and the brown cow starts with the A as the wide A, and ends as a W, so ow.
But every sound from blue moon down to Auburn dog still has the round and still has the rounding. That's the important thing too, is that's what makes it a kiss sound. You have to round your lips like you're giving a kiss, and the center column, your mouth just drops straight open.
Relaxed. Which brings us, in fact, to the next thing you may notice about this, which is the central area of the trapezium, which is not the trapezium because it's a chart, which is the only color which does not have two words. It actually has four words, and there's a reason for this. If we say these sounds, we end up with a cup, a mustard. They're all, in fact, schwa and what I used to call the duck sound, which is the inverted V. And the reason that this is so crucial is that this is where we use as a starting point when we're teaching. A cup. The only difference between a and cup is the loudness and the length. Otherwise, the sound itself and the tongue position itself are exactly the same. And so this is a very useful place to start for the students. In fact, it's where the tongue rests. And in English, the resting place of English is the tongue is flat in the middle of the mouth. It's also the sound that a lot of the middle sounds, which we're going to come back to later, go through. For example, if you take a red dress and you want to then go to a word like hair, you will actually start with go to and then go up to where your tongue is going to be curling back. The is the interesting, what I think is really exciting about this chart, is that the is very, very difficult to teach. And here, and I have actually, I had to learn R. I come from a non-rhotic language. And the curling up of the R in the American R essentially is just pointing the tongue right at the middle of the mouth. And for the students, we found this is a really powerful way of getting them to pronounce the just because when you start with and then say, now take it to or a cup of mustard, and you want to say the word above that is purple, and then just go from and curl your tongue up, and you end it from and before you know it, you're saying purple.
That's right. It's been really helpful for the students to start at that cup of mustard sound and then shift up to purple. And this is something that, again, we demonstrated when we were in class, but you can't see us. All the sounds at the top of the chart, so green tea, purple shirt, blue moon, those sounds actually require you to say them with your mouth very, very, only with a small opening to your mouth. So your mouth is quite closed. By the time you get down to the bottom, black cat, olive sock, Auburn dog, your mouth is wide open. So each step down that chart, your mouth is getting a little bit more open and a little bit more open.
And a useful physical mnemonic that I used to use is put your finger on your nose, your first finger on your nose, and your thumb under your jaw. And when you go from I to to A, you should feel the jaw actually dropping.
Under your jaw, under your chin.
Under your chin. Sorry,
under your chin.
Well, yes. Jaw, chin, it's the
one
same
or the
thing,
other. So your nose and your chin, and you should feel your mouth opening one step at a time as you go from the top in the list. So green tea, then silver pin, gray day, red dress, black cat. So it should open one step. And so when you're trying to go from that cup of mustard sound up to the purple shirt sound,
you should be reminding them to move their chin up a little bit at the same time too.
That's right.
Yeah. The white tie and turquoise toy are the outliers. As you can see, that's another thing we noted. And that's because the white tie actually begins with olive sock. It's further back, and that's why it goes up, but it still ends up in the year. So you're starting low but centered. I, Y tie, and oi, the same thing. You're starting with Auburn dog, but you're actually going from there up to the E, and it's not perfect. We recognize it's not perfect. And I think that's the closest that they got to being able to show that very long glide. By the way, that's also a color problem because it should actually be turquoise toy, but that doesn't work. But there are no colors with oi apart from turquoise. So, hey, it's not perfect. What else did we notice?
One of the nice things that we did notice is that this gives everyone a common language for discussing pronunciation. And this is so important, especially when you're working with lower level students who have so little language to begin with. With our intro level students, when they're struggling with pronunciation, all we have to say is, what color is this word? Mm-hmm. And then we can work on it together and figure it out.
Yeah. And it is, you'd be surprised at the beginning, it's all over the place. But if you start from a cup of mustard, you can always remind them to move their tongue forward or back or up or down. And it's this again is a great place to start. Now this ties in with Gatenu's idea of the students learning from producing it themselves. One of the things, and this is where Linda and I disagree slightly, is that I will not actually model most of these vowels. I'll have them say it, and then I will just give it back to them what I'm hearing. And until they give me back what I want, I will just give it back to them what they're saying. The idea is that a lot of vowels, and vowels are interesting because unlike consonants, they are relative to each other. This is something else that we try to explain. All the consonants have to do with some kind of friction between two parts of the mouth. The vowels, on the other hand, do not. They all have to do with tongue position. And that means that the sounds are relative to each other. And where I may say it could be somebody else's and it doesn't matter. As long as my relative to my is the same as the other person's is relative to, well, I don't know, it'd be further forward, but I don't know how they do it. But everybody's mouth is unique, and this is a great way for the students to figure out for themselves the relative distinctions for themselves of how sounds are made, especially these vowels.
which is one of the nice things about using this system. No matter what your own personal accent might be, your own personal dialect,
And God
you
knows there were two of them.
yes. You can use this chart successfully with your students because you're not teaching them this is one right way to do this. You're teaching them here's how you find the sound
For you.
that you can use to make everyone understand you.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that we're going to get later on, well, let's just say that first of all that it has a lot more. In the presentation, I was saying, and there's more. Remember how on the television?
That's right.
But certainly at a word level, the other thing we found is that when you have two words, it means you can use this what we call the rule of three. So when you have the key word that you're not sure about, you've got green tea, and then they can say the other one and see if they can hear the third sound as being similar or different.
So let's jump in right there and do our names. Can we do that?
Yes, absolutely. So, do you want to pause now?
Well, pause your feedback, pause your screencast for a moment and figure out what color my name is. My name is Linda. Figure out what color Neil's name is. His name is Neil. Okay,
and
we're
back. So, did you have that Linda was
silver pin
and that Neil is green tea? It's not difficult.
But the way you check is to say all three in a row. That rule of three. Silver pin Linda.
Silver pin Neil. Doesn't work, you say. So silver pin Neil, no, but green tea Neil does work. And this is where we found, again, that the rule of three actually helps. There's something to do with psychologically. We like to put things in threes. Now, it was brought to our attention that a word like Linda actually has two vowels in it.
Yes, it does.
And, well, if it has two vowels in it, why is it Linda and not Linda or Linda? And a lot of people were getting very, very confused about this. And the thing is that the important thing about the vowels is that there is one vowel, which is, yes, you've got it, it's stress. And the stressed vowel is what we call any color for any word.
So color is always determined by the stressed vowel sound.
Yes. Now let's take another example where Linda's name is Linda Ciano, and my name is Neil Williams. Now that again is a pair of words, but we can also say that that is one pair of words that is colored. It has a color. Take a second to see if you can figure out what color would Neil Williams be.
And what color would Linda Ciano be? And we're back. I hope you paused.
And if you didn't, this is a very short speech.
If you didn't pause now and figure it out. So what color was Linda Ciano, Neil?
It was black cat.
And why is that, Neil?
Because when you have two names together, one of the names actually carries an extra stress. It's not Linda Ciano, it's Linda Ciano. So even though the Linda has its own vowel, which is silver pin, in this group of words, the cat, the black cat, Ciano, in fact, is what you're listening for. Now this again, from the student's perspective, is very, very useful because it's teaching them that there are relative stresses. And this goes all the way through. You can even go to multisyllabic words like elevator, or even to full sentences, which we'll come back to, I think, when we talk about color groups later on. My name, by the way, is Silver Pin, Neil Williams. Yeah. So, take a little moment and see if you can find your own name as a color, your full name as a color. And I'm afraid we can't really tell you the answer.
We can't check. We'll have to trust you that you get it right. If you have questions, you can email Neil.
Now, next thing, let's see how you would put your name into this sentence. Suppose you have Linda's a great teacher.
Shall I type that up?
Yeah.
For posterity.
Linda's a great teacher. Now this is a sentence. What color sentence is this?
Good question.
The interesting thing is actually it depends.
It does depend. It depends upon what we want to emphasize. If we're comparing Linda and Neil,
Then
we
you would
might say,
Linda is a great teacher, in which case that would be a silver pin sentence.
that's right. But if we're saying what my job is,
Linda's a great teacher. Green pin. Green tea. And interesting, this is the normal, the regular, when we're normally teaching regular sentence stress, that's where we would put it. Linda's a great teacher. But of course, if I say, is Linda a good teacher?
no, Linda's a great teacher. Then
Now
that color is
a grade A sentence. Yes. So you see that one of the great things about this about this chart is that you can also teach so much more than just basic sentence stress.
basic word stress. You're teaching.
Well, actually both.
You start, right? We
Yeah.
start with word stress, we go on to sentence stress, and then there are even better
And
things
then
than
we get
that.
to transitive, but it gets even better.
There's even more.
Yes. So, yes, in fact, I think that Linda and Neil are doing a good job.
I think we're doing a great job,
You
Neil.
see, it's a good job, wooden
Hook.
and a great job, grade A. Are we going to give them that?
I think we should.
Yes. Let's see how you deal with this.
Neil wrote my favorite sentence ever in the English language.
And it goes like this. I think that you said is correct.
And even Microsoft Word wants to correct it. But it's not a mistake.
No, it's perfectly feasible.
Now, when we ask students to read it, they read it in this way. I think that you said is correct. And then they look and they say, what does that mean?
But in fact, it's perfectly feasible. It can be broken up into two thought groups. I mean, those of us who teach phonetics, we know all about pronunciation. We know what thought groups are. So if it's a thought group, we would break that into two thought groups. And the first one in that case would be, I think that.
Well, are we breaking into two or four?
Well, the first one would be, I think that.
You want to break it here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that. But now, of course, that becomes a black. Let's leave the rest of this out. That becomes a black, I think that. And that's not what we want. So in fact, what we need to do is to delete that bit there. Oops. And do this. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Go. And now we've got, I think, silver pin,
Mm-hmm.
that, black cat, that you said, red dress, is correct, red dress. And what we have here is, for the students, it actually becomes, I think, silver pen, that, which is a black cat, the third that you said is a red dress and is correct, is a red dress. But the question becomes, what is the sentence? And this is, of course, too long a sentence. What we have here are thought groups, which I have called color groups. And what happens is, when we teach sentence stress, is that we spend hours and hours and hours trying to teach this. We start off with think, I think, with that slight rise, that's a slight rise, that you said, slight rise, and then is correct, rise, fall. And in fact, from a student's perspective, this makes perfect sense. You now have color group think, color group that, color group red, color group correct.
Color group said. Color group correct.
Did I really say that?
You said
Yes,
red. That's okay.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
why I'm here.
Red dress, yeah. So what happens here is we can actually get students aware of the fact that they do need to put groups of words together, and that each group of words can have its own color group vowel. And this, I've had remarkable success with my level 1s and level 2s, where before they would have just given me any number of mistakes. And here it's been quite clear that the rhythm of English is really there.
And I've had good success with my level 4s too. We've been working with this and really focusing on that idea of pitch also. The idea of your pitch doesn't really drop until you get to the end of the complete thought, which is the end of the sentence. You have to keep letting your listener know that you're not finished yet. And you do that by up,
Rising,
up,
rising, rising.
up, up,
And
and then
falling.
oh,
Yeah,
down.
yeah. For those of you who are asking, but what about the schwa?
But what about about the schwa,
But
Neil?
what about the schwa? Well, the problem with the schwa has always been that people want to say the schwa as a vowel, as a full vowel. So in fact, what we would have in a case like this is, I think that, that. But the rhythm is all wrong. What we do by saying just focus on the final color group vowel, is the students automatically tend to reduce everything else. And the question was raised in the brown bag, but what about the words, the vowels that are not stressed? The vowels, for example, in that second thought group of that. Why don't you get students saying that? And of course, my answer to that is, do you know any students that can reduce vowels? Because I sure as hell don't. This is not a problem. The idea, I think, is making it relative, that it's long and it's loud, and that you stress it more rather than that you stress it less, which is a fundamental reversal of, I think, the way we've taught pronunciation before. Thank you, Color Sharp.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right, where are we now, Neil?
Now, how do we get to know? So this is essentially a description of why we're so excited by it. Now, the question is, well, what do we do with it?
Okay. So, do we want to jump right into one of the activities on what we do with it?
Yeah. Now, I'm
All right.
hoping that we'll go to my colors first of all. This is what I do with my level 2.
Okay. Now you got to find your colors, because I don't know where you put your colors here.
Oh God, is it here?
Let's try it.
Oh.
Stop trying to tap that. You got to. Let's see. No, these are this and this. We're so poorly prepared, Neil. Okay.
That's not
Let's
it.
go to the website, because they have a version there which you
Okay.
can then explain how you have modified.
It, yes.
So this is a good time to mention that on the Color Vowel Chart website, they have this nice little tab called Resources.
Yeah.
And they have free downloadable print resources. And these are really good. We've both used them in our classes, and they work very well.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about, the Color Vowel Word List. Is that it? Oh, no, that's not.
No, that's not.
That's not what we're talking about. Just a moment.
They're pictures. They're classroom. It's called Classroom Pictures. Wall sheets. Color Vowel wall sheets.
Thank you.
Yes. Now these, in fact, I haven't used, but I did adapt for use in the class. What they have here are sheets that you would put around the wall in your classroom. As a word occurs in class, you would then have students walk over and write this up against there. So if you look here, we've got green tea, you see, and underneath this is a whole page. And there the idea is that in each case the students would write any word that came up. There was a silver pin, grey day. They would then write them up under here.
So you would wind up with a whole series of these printouts on your wall, and each printout would have essentially its own vocabulary list.
Which is what makes it so very different from the Fidels we saw earlier, because those came from Caleb Gateño. These come from the class you're teaching. Now, what you can do with this, though, is when you want to begin with presenting these sounds, and this is what I do, is I have a Word document which we can't find at the moment. But basically, I've blanked out the green part of it. So you're left with T. Now, T is an interesting word because it's an open vowel, and it's a fairly easy open vowel that most people can say. You cannot walk around saying T. It's just not a sound that occurs very naturally. So students know the word T, and it's a good place to start. So you say, now what kind of color could you use to describe this T? And of course, what comes up is green tea. And from there, we can essentially present, so we say we're looking for colors. And all the way down, and I've got all of these put together on a single sheet, you would have the pin. What color can you attach to the word pin? And you find the word silver pin. And it goes on all the way down through gray, day. It takes a bit of finding, but at a certain point, the students get it. It's also set, the way I've built it, so that the front vowels, the smile vowels, are all together, and the back vowels, the kiss vowels, are all together. So this is the way that I introduce it. We essentially say, so what are these sounds? When we've got that there are these 14 different sounds in English, the next thing we do is move on to the ordering.
Okay.
Now, Linda has used this with level 4. Level 2 had a little bit of a problem with it. but
It was not
it's
easy for
not
level
easy.
4 either.
But
This
it's a
was
great way of getting
a
students really
challenge.
saying the sounds and saying the sounds and saying the sounds.
So this is the discovery activity. And in my level 4 class, the way I started, I didn't use the green tea
Right.
charts with my students. I actually had some students who had used the color vowel chart with another teacher last semester. And so they were really able to sort of jump right in and lead the class. So I had them work on their names, and everyone decided that what the color of their name was. Oh, this is something we mentioned in the brown bag. The idea of having students decide what color their name is really powerful. And I think that that was a really good way to start using this chart because for a lot of our students, they have names where the vowel sounds don't appear in our language. So they have to really make a choice. They have to decide for some of them what vowel sound are they going to use. For other students who come from language backgrounds where they don't stress syllables, they have to decide what kind of stress their name is going to have.
Are they going to be Jorge or Jorge?
That's right.
Or Javier or Javier or Javier? And it's depending on, it really is essential create a way of creating your own identity in English.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so I think that was really powerful for my students. So we did that in level 4. And then we went on to this vowel sounds discovery activity where we have these nice little cards.
Yes. And the bottom line is there are 70 cards here, I think.
And you can download them all from this website for free.
Yeah. And we tell them basically we need them in 14 piles of 5.
Oh, I didn't tell them 14. Again, level 4 versus level 2. I told them put these in piles. Put the sounds that go together together. And so my students wound up, I think on the first time through, they wound up with, I think one group had 12 piles, another group had 15 piles. They were all over the map. Nobody had 14. And so at that point, I then said to them, all right, you should have 14 piles. And there are 14 and not 15 because Auburn dog is left out of this because that's the one sound that varies between dialects. So they only do 14 sounds.
Now, just for the record, I would like it known that the word OF created a lot of problems. Most people wanted to call it an olive sock word because we're so used to thinking of OF as the word of. And of course, it's not. It's pronounced of. And I, little old me, made a mess with this one with my students the first time because I, like everyone else, had of with olive. And of course, we then had olive, sock, stop, father, knowledge, and there was one too many. So the question was, well, what's wrong? And we did eventually end up figuring it out. I was told in no uncertain terms by my co-teacher here, no, the word is of. Yeah.
So, but it's really good for the students to have to put them together like this. And if you plan on doing this in your class, judge from what it took us. I think for the 4s, it took, close to an hour.
Yeah, for me too, it was a good hour. And but a very intense hour.
Yes.
You'd be surprised at how much the students are talking. No, you can't have that. Yes. And there's a lot of actually saying of these words. So it's a great way for them to begin really getting their mouths around the feel of the different vowels. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Everyone was engaged. Everyone was speaking. There was nobody hanging back from this one. Everybody wanted to get their thoughts in there, you know. Mm-hmm. So that was a great one.
Yeah. Then going on through the semester, basically what we came to was, well, what do we do? Anytime you meet a new word, the first thing you ask is, what's the color? It's real simple. And they will, at the beginning, as I said, they're all over the place. But later on, they do actually end up getting there pretty well. And but you can see this: cup, must, dug, no, cup, car.
And the thing that I really love is that they correct each other. This is such a great way to get students correcting one another. One person will say, "Gray day pin," and somebody else will say, "No," and then they'll try to jump in and help.
Yes. It really does help the students. I think everybody's year is slightly different, but it means that they're becoming aware of the relative vowels of all of their classmates, which is really a great way of getting them to become aware of this. It's also a great way of getting students to focus on the length, well, I don't want to use the word long, but of the diphthongs. One of the major problems that I certainly have at the lower levels, is that I have the word grey, for example. I hear the word grey. Or ship for sheep. And this really forces them to say, well, no, it's gree sheep. And I don't know if you noticed, but what's really fascinating, of course, and I mentioned this earlier, is that it's not a matter of length. It's a matter of that extra consonant at the end, the y and the w. Between w and blue, the only difference is that w at the end. And this, for the students, once they've gotten the idea of it, it's really, really, really powerful. They can hear the difference between ship and sheep and rip and reap.
That's right. And speaking of, shall we do our little coloring activity?
Which one?
We have the YW coloring activity.
Okay, now yeah,
and
coloring.
I do know where that is.
Yes, coloring. Okay, time for some exercise. Time for some fun. Yes, I think that you said is correct. But where is it?
Okay, hush up.
There.
Here it is. So this is, do we want to do?
Let's go with the other one. Let's start with the YW coloring here.
Okay.
Which is
there. No. All right, hang on.
No.
I was not hired for my screencasting skills. You got to give me a minute.
Where did she get to?
There it is.
There we go. Yes.
Okay.
So look at these words here, and pause, and see if you can tell us what the coloring is. In other words, what is the sound that is between these vowels?
Yeah, so this isn't quite coloring. We're not looking for a color. We're looking for a hidden consonant. So don't try to give us a color like gray day or red dress. There's a hidden consonant between the two underlined letters in each word or pair of words. What is that hidden consonant? So pause and then come back with your answer. Okay.
So here we go. Suellen is not Ellen, which is what you'll hear a lot in class. It's actually Suellen. Blue moon gives the Suellen.
And so the hidden consonant is
a W.
W.
It's the W. The W.
And that's that W coloring in the upper right-hand corner of the chart that we showed earlier.
Because we've gone from the U to an E. It's always between two vowels, which is, again, a major problem for students. In the second word, we have
geography.
Not geography, which is what you'll hear, but
geography, where the hidden consonant is a
Y, a Y. So often.
W. Reaction.
Y. Realize.
Y.
Why are you asking me?
W. And Croatia.
Croatia, W. You see? Now this is one of the ways, but of course what we've really found most exciting is the R consonant. I keep coming back to this. This is, to me, has been the major discovery of this thing. And in each of these cases, you'll see that there's an intervocalic R. There's an R in the middle of the word. Actually, it's not always. It's sometimes at the end of a word. But
there's an R that affects
but there's an R that affects the vowel.
Of the vowel.
So take a moment, pause your machine, and decide what color is the vowel. And then remember that there's an R sounding which is going to follow that vowel to make it into that R sound. So pause your machine and see if you can figure this out.
So now we're looking for the color of each word, the red dress or the gray day, etc. And we're back.
Okay, so let's take this first word. We've got the word hairdresser. Hairdresser.
Now you gave away the secret sauce a little bit earlier because you used the word hair as an example. Did you all remember?
It's red dress, but it goes through copper mustard, so it's hair. It's actually hair.
Although if you come from down south, it might go through the Y.
Hayer.
Hayer.
And again, depends on what we're at. So it's the of red dress, and the next word is
fiery. Fiery.
White tie.
That's right.
Fiery. But here again, it goes through copper mustard. Fiery. Fiery.
And after that, we have
party.
Party. Olive sock party.
Yeah. Most people want to say Auburn dog there, but that's a party, and that's not going to work.
Part of what's going on, too, is spelling. I think even with the word like of that you mentioned earlier, people want that of to be olive sock because of the O.
Yeah, and it's not.
People aren't trusting their ears, they're trusting their eyes. And that came up in our intro class, the idea of you have to trust your ears.
Yeah, that's how you did it before you could learn to write. So dirty.
Dirty. That's right there.
That starts with a cup of mustard, and it goes up to purple shirt. So it's purple shirt
No,
is an
that's
odd,
purple shirt. Dirty is purple shirt.
but purple shirt is by its very nature. It
That's
starts
right.
with an anyway.
That's right. But since it's there on the chart,
I
it's
agree.
legitimate to say it's
Purple
purple
shirt.
shirt. But all purple shirt does start at that
It's the
right,
resting,
for our
yeah.
students.
And you've got to bear in mind that Linda and I will always disagree slightly. Portly.
But we agree to do that.
Yeah.
So
Portly.
portly. There's that Auburn dog.
Portly. And notice that the jaw is really moving up there to move from the or to the
And if you
because
come from California, I have no idea how it sounds.
Partly.
Partly.
I have no idea either. Hourly.
Hourly. Ow. Brown cow. Hourly.
Hour. Yeah, brown cow.
Murder.
All right, well, she's going to say purple shirt. I'm going to say cup of mustard. But either way, it's the of purple shirt. It starts from the middle and goes up to the mur.
If you want to say it starts from the middle, everything starts from the middle.
Of course.
So, starting from the middle.
Purple shirt. All right.
It's
we'll go
purple shirt.
Right.
Brewery.
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 Blue moon brewer. Yeah. Blue moon brewer. Foyer.
Ooh, I love this one. Foyer. We so rarely get words like this.
Yeah.
Turquoise toy foyer.
Yeah.
Yearly.
Eerie green tea. Eerie green tea.
See, it's hard. Those are really challenging. I can't tell you how long it took me to figure out what color hair was. That drove me crazy.
Yeah.
We seem to have yearly on here twice. We got very enthusiastic about that word. Let's take that one away and move right down to
lyrics.
Lyrics. E. Same as yearly. That green tea, year. Well, you say lyrics.
I say lyrics.
I say lyrics.
Now, this is exactly what we were talking about, the fact that when we have our own vowels, for me, it's an I, but for Linda, it's an E, lyrics. And it's perfectly acceptable.
That's right, because people will recognize this word, whether you pronounce it lyrics or lyrics. They will not recognize it if you say lyrics.
Or lyrics.
Or lyrics. So it's about giving our students the range of what's acceptable.
Yeah. And finally, we have player.
Gray day player.
Yeah. Okay. Where does that leave us?
Let's see. Oh, does that leave us with your fun dictation?
Yeah. Then we'll
Which I think we also failed to find that. We were much better in person.
I think we have it actually. Oh, it's somewhere down. It's a word. There's a Word document down here somewhere. No. That's it.
Okay.
No, it's not.
No.
Is it that one? Maybe it's that one. Nope.
No.
Well, we've lost it. No.
Okay, can we explain it?
Very simply, it's a story, and there are thought groups that have been removed. So Linda has the first thought group, so once upon a time. I will have the second thought group, there was a girl.
And then I continue, who lived in a house.
Along the road.
In the middle of a forest.
Yes. And what we do in each of these cases, we would have once upon a time. A time is a white tie color group. So we will put WT and once upon a time, 4 words. So you have 4, white tie.
Now, let me jump in here and say, since we can't show you anything, what this is essentially a gap fill.
It's a gap fill, but it's between 2 students who are sitting back to back.
That's right. So I would have one sheet of paper, Neil would have another sheet of paper. Each of us would have every other thought group on our paper, and each missing thought group would be represented by a blank line, at the end of which, in parentheses, is a number.
Which is the number of words.
The number of words that should be in that line, and the 2-letter abbreviation for the color.
Yes, which I have started using because I find it too long to write black cat. So I write black cat as BLC and brown cow as BRC. Those are the only 2 and in fact variations which you need to do this. Otherwise, WT, OS,
RD.
RD, it's much easier, and then as the semester goes on, we find you can actually take the ends of the black cat up and just get black cat, which is the sound we're after anyway. But what's happening in here, essentially, with this is that we are creating or building the story together purely and simply by focusing on the color group vowel. Everything else gets reduced, and the idea is that because that's what the students are aiming for, that's what they tend to pronounce louder and longer.
And to do this gap fill, again, students sit back to back and they are allowed to read the entire thought group. They're not allowed to read a single word.
Spell.
They can repeat the thought group as many times as they want, as many times as their partner needs them to, but they have to repeat it as a thought group, so they can't say once upon a time.
Exactly.
It has to be once upon a time.
And that's our job, we're working around monitoring that.
That's right. And at the end of the day, they need to have the correct number of words, the total number in the story. So for example, Neil, working with level 2, gave his students a story like this with each line having the number of words in it. 4 words in this line, 3 in that line. I didn't give my students the number of words.
Oh, really?
I gave them the total at the end. So at the end of the story, you need to have this many words, and they had to count them all up. And if they didn't have the right number of words, they had to go back through the story and see if they could figure out where they had made the mistake. So they can't show each other the story yet. They have to read it through again and see where they made their errors. The same thing, Neil gave his students the color group, the color vowel. I made my students figure it out. So before they worked with a partner, they were actually in 2 large groups, everybody who had the A half of the story and everyone who had the B half of the story, and they figured out together what the color for each phrase was.
And so you see, these are just some of the ways that you can adapt this chart. We're really excited by this chart.
Yeah.
We're finding that we're using it increasingly. Students are becoming comfortable with it. And I think there's been a lot of interest also just among our colleagues.
Yeah.
So I think that's about it, right?
I think so. That about wraps it up.
Yeah, we hope you found this a little bit informative. And if you have any questions, obviously you know where Linda is. And you can talk to me for about another 6 months.
Neil will be available in the south of France in his retirement.
That will be Black Cat France.
Thank you for listening.